was born in Boston in the suburbs of Newton. As a child, she enjoyed sneaking into their upstairs attic where she would draw pictures of dinosaurs. She thought she would become an artist. She fell in love with making animated films. She attended Hampshire College, where she earned a degree in filmmaking and photography. After graduation, she taught film at Harvard University. She then worked for a month in Hollywood as a personal assistant before being fired. She laughed that she was not very good at bringing coffee to people. She continued her stay in Hollywood assisting Woody Allen. She fell in love with Bennett Tramer, the head writer of Saved by the Bell. They became the parents to their daughter Ava. Sonia started a hand-painting baby clothes business, selling to Neiman Marcus, Nordstrom's, and Macy's. Soon her son Jeremy was born. Since she enjoyed reading to her children, she decided to start writing children's books. Sonia's first book was a rhyming book called Smitty, the Hollywood Kitty. The book did not do very well. Sonia then enrolled in a poetry class at UCLA. The class was taught by Myra Livingston, who helped Sonia with writing Stop Pretending, What Happened When My Sister Went Crazy. Sonia enjoys writing, speaking, teaching, riding her bicycle, dancing, reading, taking pictures, and thrift shopping. Sonia got the inspiration to write Saving Red because this was real life for her. Her sister was bipolar and had to be hospitalized on Christmas Eve. After her sister was released from the hospital, Sonia still worried about her. Sonia also remembers a homeless person that she would see in her neighborhood when she was younger. She had clothing at home that she tried to give to her. The woman turned the clothing down, thus, the character Red was born. My name is Molly. This book is about me. I'm probably the guiltiest person who ever lived. But I'm not ready to talk about that yet. I may never be ready. This book is about Pixel 2, my almost human dog, and about Krista, my possible future boyfriend. Mostly, though, it's about Red, a homeless girl I met in the park one night. She's a few years older than me, reckless, wild, and more fun than anyone. But if Red survived on the streets these last few months, it's only been because of dumb luck. And that luck might run out any second now. That's why I've made it my mission to get her back to her family. Though it's hard to save someone when they really don't want to be saved. There are several crucial settings in the book. The first crucial setting is in Palisades Park. Molly refers to the area as a strip of land so skinny, it's basically a piece of linguine. Molly is searching the area to count homeless people for community service hours at around 2 a.m. in the morning. Palisades Park is creepy and foggy, like a horror film. There's a rustle in the brush, and Red screams out while having a nightmare. This is a crucial setting because this is the first time that Molly sees Red. Another crucial setting is when Red and Molly spend the night together in a hotel. Red starts to talk about Duke, and Molly realizes that the Duke isn't real and that these are voices in Red's head. This is a turning point because Molly realizes that Red is really mentally ill and wonders if she's gotten in way over her head. Another crucial setting is in Christo's backyard. Christo has a beautiful backyard with a pool. He's allowed Red to stay there and keep his cat Sequoia. This setting is crucial because Molly and Red are going to spend a lot of time there. It is Christo's backyard where Red tells Molly about her schizoaffective disorder. It's where Molly will leave Pixel for the first time and goes off by herself without his support. It is also where Molly is going to lose Pixel for the very first time. A turning point in the book is when Red gives Molly her mom's phone number. This shows that Red is really starting to trust Molly. Another turning point in the book is when Molly tells Red of Noah's state of mind and about how he disappeared. Molly tells Red about how she went off with her friends instead of keeping an eye on Noah, like her parents had asked her to. Red helps Molly to see that Noah's disappearance wasn't her fault because she's only a kid and she shouldn't have been left alone to be responsible for Noah. This totally changes how Molly sees herself. She's finally able to forgive herself and she's able to release some guilt. She confronts her parents and lets them know how she feels. This is an eye-opener for her parents. This is the beginning of the healing process for Molly and her family. A turning point is when Red calls her mom, who tells Molly that Red cannot come home until she gets help and gets back on her medication because she can't put her sisters at risk. It is also when Red decides to run into traffic and end it all because Duke and Lana are telling her to do so. Molly convinces Red that the voices are not real. Red tells Molly to call 911, and Red is taken to a mental hospital. Mental health literacy is knowing about your mental health. It helps people to understand their own mental health and be able to manage things as they happen. Mental health literacy is knowing about your mental health. It helps people to understand their own mental health and be able to manage things as they happen in life. In the book Red by Sonia Stone, the character Red was very aware of her mental illness. She allowed her illness to dictate her actions and her life. Molly, on the other hand, had a mental illness, but she had tools in place to help her function, but not necessarily control it. Mental health literacy is having knowledge of your emotional state of mind or emotional well-being, psychological well-being, and different aspects of social interactions, which is your social well-being. So, social well-being consists of treating others with respect, having a support system, having healthy relationships, respect, and love self. And psychological well-being is happiness, shelter, food, and safety, having all those things. Emotional well-being is sense of meaning, having good feelings and good thoughts. And social well-being, when it relates to the book Red, Molly displays social well-being by establishing friendships with Red and Christo. Molly's support system was Pixel in the beginning, but Red and Christo became a support system for her later in the book. Molly's mom and dad did not provide Molly with support due to them being too busy blaming each other for Noah's disappearing. Molly definitely respects herself and loves herself in the book. Molly treats Christo and Red with respect, but she's having a problem with respect at her home with her mom and dad. Molly has a healthy relationship with Pixel. Red's relationship is hard to classify and is a healthy, but all the things that Red does during their interaction in the book kind of makes that relationship kind of suspect if it's healthy or not.
Red does not disrespect people, but she did share some of Molly's information without her permission. So Red does not have a support system when Molly meets her, but Molly and Pixel becomes that support system, which is establishes a healthy relationship for Red with Molly and Pixel. Psychological well-being. Molly has food, shelter, and a safe place to live. Um, though her environment is still kind of emotionally unstable. Red, on the other hand, does not have food, shelter, or a safe place to live. Molly does try to change that for Red by trying to locate Red's mom, and getting Crisco to let her sleep in his backyard so she can be safe. Everyone is struggling with happiness, but Red and Molly and Crisco do share happy moments throughout the book. Molly and her mom and dad do find happiness at the end after they discuss um, their feelings and emotions about Noah's experience, emotional well-being. Molly finds purpose um, in helping Red find her mom so she can get her off the streets and get her safe. Um, Red does juggle between good and bad thoughts due to the voices in her head because of her mental illness, and her emotions are up and down due to that. Molly gave Red a sense of meaning by being supportive of her through her own mental illness.
It is evident that the book Saving Red includes many connections to social psychology, perception of others, altruism, and stereotypes, to name a few. I think these three factors specifically are worth discussing more in depth in relation to the book. Before doing so, I would like to state that all of the conclusions I have drawn have derived from information provided to us in D2L. Perception of others. When discussing our perception of others, it is important that we know what causal attribution is. Causal attribution is the process of trying to determine the causes of people's behavior. Basically, people infer personality and look at someone's behavior and surroundings to do so. In the book, we see how this negatively affects Red's interaction with others. They make assumptions about her without even getting to know her. If people took the time to observe Red a little closer, like Molly does, she may have gotten the proper help she needed much sooner than she did. Altruism. To understand how altruism connects to the book, we first need to understand what it is. Altruism refers to any behavior that is designed to increase another person's welfare, and particularly those actions that do not seem to provide a direct reward to the person who performs them. Now, how does altruism relate to social psychology specifically? Social psychology is systematically and formally measuring the thoughts, feelings, and behaviors of human beings. Examples of social psychology in the book are as follows. Molly's interactions with Red, although not altruistic in the beginning as she was trying to gain class credit, quickly became so when she goes above and beyond to ensure Red's safety. She feels a deep connection to helping Red because she hopes that someone is doing the same for her brother. She provides Red with clothing, food, advice, shelter, and friendship. She saves Red from many harmful situations. She helps Red find clarity in her blurry reality and helps her navigate through her day when the voices in her head begin to alter her behavior. She even goes as far as convincing Red to call her mom and seek professional help through hospitalization. Stereotypes. Since we know that social psychology looks closely at the study of human behavior, it is evident that stereotypes play a huge role in this. As a source in D2L explains, discrimination can actually flare up psychotic episodes. For example, people face discrimination daily by being stared at, laughed at, excluded, or unwelcomed, which can cause that person to have higher anxiety rates, anger, and so on. People who are homeless face this more drastically, and it can be quite stressful for someone who has an illness such as Red does. Many of her flare-ups in the book come from stressful or negative interactions with others. For example, when Molly and Red cannot find Molly's dog, Red immediately blames herself. She becomes anxious and starts losing her sense of reality. She starts telling Molly that people in her head are expressing that it is her fault and that she should just leave. This psychotic episode stems from her anxiety in losing Molly's dog. This example alone is a huge indicator as to why Red seems to be lost or estranged from her family. She freaks out and cannot seem to handle her emotions, thinking her only option is to flee the situation. She does this often in the book. There is stigma that comes with homelessness that implies people are homeless because they are lazy, on drugs, are alcoholics, and so on. It is seldom that people think a person is homeless due to a mental illness, when in fact mental illness plays a huge factor in homelessness. People are not mentally ill solely because they are homeless, but can become homeless because they are mentally ill. Red, for instance, is homeless due to her schizophrenia. Her sense of reality is so skewed and her behavior is so erratic that Red eventually finds herself living on the streets, in part due to the voices in her head and in part due to her bursts of clarity, where she thinks she is too dangerous to live with others, such as her family. The entire book incorporates aspects of social psychology and does a great job at conveying how people in our society view mental illness, homelessness, and trauma, and what changes we should make to our society as a whole.